Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Faye Answered Questions. This is the podcast where the Faye family tries to answer questions about life. I'm joined this week just by my lovely parents, Mom and Dad.
Hi.
This is just Dad, apparently.
Sorry about that. So let's just dive right into the first question. First one is about car maintenance. So what can you do at home with your car? What do you absolutely need to take it into the mechanic for? Normally, if something goes wrong, I'd call Dad and I'm like, "Hey, it's making a funny noise. Like, what is this?" And then he'll run me through troubleshooting with it. And I think that's the same for Felicity and Ben. They'll both call when something goes down.
Yep.
But I think more and more the answer has just been like, "Hey, look it up on YouTube and figure it out," because there's a whole world of information there that's super handy.
YouTube's your greatest friend.
That's how you adult.
Yep.
I think on car maintenance, I think it's really important that you read your manual. You know how your car operates. It's the manual on how it's going to operate optimally for you, and just doing those little maintenance things that like checking your oil in between oil changes, learning how to do your oil changes, checking all of your fluids, checking all of your air filters that go with it, your tire pressure, keeping your car clean inside and out. Whether you think anything about it or not, it's going to help you have car pride, so that then you will take care of it, because it's a huge investment. And pay cash for something and keep it maintained, and you'll have a good car.
I'm glad you brought up the car manual thing, because I just found mine the other day. So I bought this car into September, I want to say, or sometime in September. I couldn't find the car manual. I was like, oh, it's going to be in the glove box somewhere. No, there's a special little compartment under the steering wheel, like hidden. It's super weird. I never knew where to find it. I thought the previous owner had just kept it or thrown it out or something, but finally found it and was flipping through that the other day.
It's a good handy guide to troubleshoot things.
Yeah.
And then if all else fails, I just tell your dad, is that something we can fix? Which is code for, can you fix that, or am I taking it in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the limiting factor for me right now is not having the tools kind of available to try and fix a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think number one, outside of a home, most people's car purchase is probably their next biggest expense.
Yeah.
And that's because most people fall into the trap of buying a new car and financing it, which, as you know and knew growing up, we don't buy new cars. We buy very gently used cars, secondhand cars, previously owned cars, call them what you will.
Previously loved.
So at the minute, so people understand, we have a 2002 Mercedes-Benz ML320, which is the SUV. That vehicle has it's got less than 70,000 miles on it. And we paid cash for that. Then we've got a 2000 Mercedes-Benz ML320 that has 112,000 miles on it. And then my little project vehicle, when I get around to fixing it up, is a 1986 Isuzu Pup pickup.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, which is cool as hell. But most American people, if they even remember the Isuzu Pup, will remember they were the Chevy Love pickup between 78 and 85. So that's how they'll recognize that. But we don't buy. I mean, we're talking a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old everyday driver. Both of them have one has well less than 100,000. One has just over 100,000. And we just maintain them. We do I do as much work on those vehicles as I can myself,
Mhm.
because most mechanics are going to charge you minimum $80 an hour. Most of them on average charge about $120 an hour labor.
Yeah, that's what I found out recently. So I have a 2002 Audi A6, which has just a tick over 120,000 miles on it. So not a whole lot of miles for its age. And I've found, as with all things, you don't find the problems until after you buy it.
Right.
So I had to take it in the other day, figure out stuff with the brakes and the power steering. That cost an arm and a leg
Yeah.
to try and figure out. I'm not looking forward to having to go back and try and get any more work done on it.
And that's why you should try and learn and do as much of it yourself as you can. Obviously, you in your situation is a little different because you've got no
Yeah.
tools and blah blah blah. But if you're listening to this and you've got a house and you've got a somewhat semi decent toolbox, and you've got a garage and a piece of cardboard, or a carport and a piece of cardboard. Most
Yeah.
everything basic you can do yourself. Like you can do an oil change. It does not take a lot of money to do an oil change. I think on our vehicles, an oil change for me to do it myself with new filter and new oil, we're looking at like $35 or $40. Might be
Mhm.
a little more now because I use synthetic, so it may be up around the $50 mark. But if I took it in to get the oil changed, if I took it into a dealership, it would be $200. If I took
Yep.
it into a Jiffy Lube, Quick Lube place, it's probably $120 to get the oil
Mhm.
change. So I mean, it takes me maybe 30 minutes if I piddle around and just do an oil change without getting too excited. And so 30 minutes of my day gone changing the oil and $50, but I've saved $70.
Yeah. I remember doing a lot of oil changes with you growing up.
Yeah, and as you know, because you helped me, we did brake jobs and changed brake
Yep.
calipers. And right now I bought a new battery and a starter motor to put on that 2000 ML320 because the starter motor
Mm.
finally conked.
Oh, finally gave out.
Yeah, and it's just age. I mean, but that's not. I mean, and the parts weren't overly expensive. The new battery, well, I think between the battery and the starter motor, I'm less than $400 into those. I don't pay for my time to put those in, but if I go to a dealership and I have a dealership put a starter motor on for me and put a battery in for me, I'm batting $800-900. So I think when it comes to car maintenance, learn as much as you can yourself.
Talk to your trusted mechanic. Have them explain it and help you and see if you can help them.
Yeah, I mean, find a mechanic you trust and get to know them pretty well. But the basics, like your mom said, learn to change your oil. If you've got and let's face it, most people do, their cars are going to be newer than 2000, the year 2000. They're probably newer than the year 2000. Change your oil. You're using synthetic, so it's going to run at least 5,000 miles. And if all you're doing is driving your car around town, then you're going to get 10,000 miles out of it. Learn
Right.
to change your air filters. Learn to keep your tire pressure at the optimal pressure for your tires, so you don't wear your
Mhm.
tires. Save on gas mileage.
Absolutely.
So it's all the basic stuff that you can do. Then whatever you save doing that, don't spend it. Put it back, because when something big goes wrong, you're going to have the money to pay for it.
Yeah. So what is something big that you would take your car in for? Like
Transmission.
For me, it'd have to be something that I could not diagnose through like YouTube or something I haven't done before. So for me, if I've got an unusual vibration or noise in the engine that I have never heard before, if I
Yeah.
have, a transmission that isn't shifting correctly, I'd take that in.
Yeah.
I got a little lazy on this black truck that we've got. I took it in and had them service the transmission for me. You and I think, did the transmission service on the red truck that we had.
Yeah. I remember that
Was it
one.
the silver?
No, it was the red one. But for me, it has to be something big. Like, and when I say big, you go out, you turn the key, and it's obvious it's not the battery, and it's obvious it's not the starter, and your truck's not starting, or something like that. For some other people, it could be simply a bad starter motor, and they don't want to spend the time changing it themselves. I get that. Or they don't have the tools available to change it themselves. Then you do have to take that in. But if you've done all your oil changes and that kind of stuff, you've got the money back that you can take it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say are like the most essential basic tools to have in your toolbox?
Go and buy a set. Now, it depends on what kind of vehicle you get. Obviously, you need to know if it's European or American, because then you need to know whether you got to buy metric or SAE standard tools. So you need a basic wrench set. Yeah, I was going to say spanners, but I knew everyone would be like, what the hell is a spanner?
I don't think a lot of people would understand that.
So a basic wrench set, a basic socket set, and when I say a basic socket set, don't get a 25 piece, get a 75 or 100 piece socket set, so you've got plenty of choices. Depending on how far you want to go, you may want to invest in a torque wrench so that you can tighten bolts down to specific torque settings.
Torque wrenches are really cool.
They are. If you're going to do oil changes, you'll need a filter wrench, a pan to drop the oil into. A good set of 3 funnels would be handy. But those are kind of the basic tools to get started. And don't forget, the specialty tools you do not have to buy. Most auto parts stores, you can rent them.
I didn't know that.
Yes, so you can go to an auto parts store, and if you're needing a specialty tool, on your brother's truck, I changed out the bearing on the fan. I think the fan bearing, or the front idler pulley the front idler bearing, I think I changed out on it, and I needed a special tool to get the fan off. And I rented it from the local auto parts store. Basically gave him $20 deposit, came home. I think it was not even 30 minutes, and I had the fan off and the bearing changed and the fan back on. And took it back, and I got 15 of the 20 back.
Nice.
So
there you go. Hot tips if you need specialty tools out there.
Yeah. So yeah, and you'd be surprised. Like, you can go on YouTube, and I've bookmarked them on my YouTube station. Like, I have 3 European auto repair sites that deal with Mercedes-Benz bookmarked. So I can immediately go to them and then type into them what I'm looking for, and it'll bring up the video, and I can just follow along step by step.
Oh, easy enough.
Along with maintaining your car, don't forget your windshield wipers. Make sure they are good before you hit a rain or snowstorm. And even if you're not using them in the summer, it does deteriorate with the sun and heat. So make sure you have good wipers so you can see. The other thing people forget is your headlights. Make sure your headlights the covers are clear. And if they're really cloudy and it's hard to see, get that polishing kit and polish them up so you can actually see where you're going. That's very
Absolutely.
important to safety. We've done that for all of ours and for
Everyone.
your SO.
Yeah. Yeah, my partner.
Yeah,
I think we've done that for her at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
She's come over and you've been out there and yeah. You'll look at
And
me
it's,
and be like, "Hey, go clean her headlights real quick." Okay.
and it's just simple stuff like that. That's what we were talking about, car maintenance. It's just simple little everyday things that you think, oh, I don't want to do that. But trust me, taking those 5 or 10 minutes, half an hour to do those things, you are actually going to save yourself tons of time, money, and anguish. Because if you don't have good wipers and you get caught in a rainstorm, you're going to end up not seeing what's happening in front of you and, driving into a pothole that's, full of water up to your door handle. Or,
Yeah.
if you don't take care of your tires and they're slick, you're going to hydroplane, that kind of stuff. You just want to make sure that you've done everything to mitigate extenuating circumstances for a wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to be sustainable, I guess, with everything. Which
Flows into the next question.
Good one, Mom. Nice segue.
Not just the
yeah, that brings us to the next topic of discussion today, which is different ways to be sustainable. So I know when we say sustainable, we mainly think environmentally sustainable, but there are other ways. Specifically, you can be, socially sustainable, or you can be economically sustainable. I guess the easiest one to segue into would be the economic sustainability, especially if you're doing your own car maintenance, you're saving a lot of that money that you would otherwise be spending on that car.
Oh, and just a point on the car maintenance thing, you're changing your own oil, you put it back into the container that you bought, and most of your O'Reilly's or auto parts stores will take that used oil back for you. They'll recycle it. And they'll recycle it, so you're not throwing it in your trash, which is not to happen.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That's it.
I remember I was looking at an old car maintenance book a while ago, and it was like ways to get rid of oil if you do your own oil change. And it was like, dig a hole in the ground, fill it with gravel, and then pour the oil in there. And I was like, what the hell?
That's not good.
Not at all.
I can remember growing up on the farm in Australia, and we used to take it and paint the fence posts, the wooden fence posts, with it so they wouldn't rot. That was how we recycled old oil on the farm.
That's awesome.
Not very good, seeing as how we're on a watershed.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But that's definitely something I can see happening in the 70s, 80s. It's like, oh, just paint the fence with the oil. It should be fine.
Yep.
So for sustainability, I do have a few things here.
Yep, you've written notes. I see them.
Yes, I think the first one that's probably really important that covers all points of sustainability is take inventory. So take inventory of your life, where you're at, where you want to go, what you can do differently. And that could be as simple as, if you're renting an apartment, simply change your light bulbs to more efficient LED light bulbs.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up, though, is because I was texting my partner before this about sustainability, and her, as you know, her major is biological and environmental engineering, and she has taken many a sustainability class. So she sent me a 7-paragraph long text about different ways you can be sustainable. And one of the number 3 on her bullet points is switch to LED lights.
I mean, it really is. It's as simple as that. It's also looking around your living arrangements and going, do I need all this stuff? And if you don't, great. Then, like if we're talking clothes, furniture, books, whatever, you can sell that to make money and just put that in savings and investments like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can donate it to other places. If you need new clothes, go to a thrift store. The key to that is go to the posh areas and go there, because you're going to find a lot better stuff cheaper. So, that's another way of doing it. Another way to be sustainable is where you live and where you work. How far is it? Can you walk? Can you ride your bike? Can you take your scooter? Or, how can you
public transport?
Public transport? I know as Americans, they love their independence and right to drive their big trucks and their big vehicles and, be aggressively stupid while they're driving. But, look at it. I try to, when the weather's nice and I don't have a bunch on where I need my car at work to go to the neighborhoods and stuff, I will ride my bike. I try to do it at least once, maybe 2 to 3 times a week in the spring, summer, and fall. Winter's a little bit different, but, it kills two birds with one stone, so to speak. You're getting exercise and you're saving the environment by not running over things. Which I did on my bike, so that's a whole nother story. But take inventory of what you're doing and look at what you can change. Maybe you don't have to become a minimalist, but maybe you can look more that way and go, what do I really need? What do I really like? Is it necessary for me to have, 20 designer towels sitting in the cupboard where I don't need that? Is it necessary for me to buy that, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home when really, in actual fact, I can get by with a smaller one that's just as nice and not have to have all the big stuff and keeping up with the Joneses.
No, absolutely. And for me, like I don't enjoy having a ton of just stuff lying around. So you see those there's some pictures online that turned into a bit of a meme where it's like a guy's apartment and it's just like a folding chair and a TV in the middle of the living room. I think that's kind of more how I lean on, owning a bunch of stuff. But also like as far as like clothes go, like when my clothes have kind of like when I'm reach the end of their life, like with me, but they're still good. Like I'll go donate them to different like shelters, and like a lot of cities they have those drop off
Right.
Things on the side of the street, which I do a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, if you have a fairly nice apartment and you have a terrace on it, or you have a home, you can do gardening. You don't have to have a big plot to do gardening on. You can do container gardening. You can have stuff in the south-facing windows if you have that. There's a lot of things you can do. You can even put in some lights and have a food production year round. I mean, like us, we've tried everything. We've had, the polytunnel greenhouses, the aquaponics. We have all kinds of stuff going.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But it's also just doing that kind of thing. One thing I ran across, they were talking about, support your farmer's market. I have mixed feelings on that. You can watch a lot of different documentaries where they show that they actually don't grow them and they're bringing them in from big, huge production farms and just taking the stickers off of them and reselling them as homegrown.
Right.
And they're not. So you need to be aware of that. In our area, if I go to the farmer's market, I can go to a couple different local grocery stores and find those same producers selling to organic to the local grocery store for less than what they're selling at the farmer's market. It's coming from the same place,
Yeah, well, it's posh, you know. You got to go to the farmer's market. You got to
The
the whole
latest.
thing. You got to take like 60,000 photos while you're there.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's part of sustainability is doing your research and understanding where that's coming from. Another thing is bartering. You have a skill set. You may have somebody who doesn't have that skill set, but they have a product or a skill that you need. You can barter that so that you're helping each other out. You're not, going and buying something disposable from the store or whatever. It's another way of going back to the old school stuff. You
Hmm.
can, barter to get it done, and it's not costing you any money per se.
Yeah,
So
just a little bit of time.
yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of time, but you're going to have to use that time trying to do it yourself when you can switch times, switch stuff to get it done, which is kind of an interesting thing to do and whatnot. I leave the bartering to your father. So we end up
Yeah,
with
he's the best
sandwich
one out of everyone.
makers. We get sandwich makers we don't need.
I think that all of this ties in together, and it's really something that I tried to instill in you guys growing up. And as you watched what I did, which is learn as much about something as you can so you can do it yourself, and learn how to, of course, all of this stuff's become trendy now. We give it all different names, upcycling and repurposing, and basically whatever you have, learn how to use it again. So the chest of drawers isn't broken down, so you don't really need to go out and buy a new one for $300. You can give it a $50 coat of paint, and you're good to go.
Right.
Now we call it upcycling, and we've got to post it on Etsy.
It's got to be
So
cool and trendy for the kids these days.
yeah. So, but we've done that pretty much all our life. Sometimes out of necessity, sometimes just because that's what we did. We were very, and I'm not going to say we're frugal by any stretch of the imagination. We could be a lot more frugal. But I hate spending money unnecessarily, you know. And so it is a lifestyle choice. Being sustainable is a lifestyle choice, and it's not something that this country's been used to. Other countries around the world have been far more sustainable than this country for a lot longer. This country was very big in consumerism and buy it when it's broke, throw it away. I mean, I don't know how many times you guys have watched me rip a washing machine apart and put a new motor in it and
Yeah,
do all that kind of stuff, because I don't like just throwing money out.
absolutely. And that's the same way I am now. It's like somebody be like, "Oh, why don't you just like buy a new one?" I'm like, "I don't friggin' want to. Like, that's a whole waste of money."
Right. And there's a lot, like, and because we've commented on this podcast before about me sending links through our family chat about on people that have retired really early in life, and one of the reasons they did is because they were hugely sustainable.
Yeah.
And I wish that we would have the ability to go back to our 20s and be ever so more sustainable, because we would be well and truly set and retired and done by now.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I think with global warming and all of that, water is
mm,
a huge hot topic. Just switch to a reusable water bottle. Stop using plastics. The other thing is take a look at your toilet. How much water is it using? How old is your toilet? If it is over 20 years old, you need to redo it. You need to get a new one.
mhm.
Unfortunately, if it happens to be like ours, where they concreted stuff in and you can't get but one size and they don't make that anymore, you can install a toilet buddy, or for whatever reason, what is the flusher thing called that we installed? Anyway, the lever, the flush valve, the lever to do that. When we got it, it was just weird. So you actually have to push it back, but you can control how much water you use.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always an important thing to do. And just, it also depends what state you're in and the laws and the rules, but, collect your rainwater, even if you're only allowed to do that to use in your garden. You're not using and paying for water to water your garden or your yard.
Yeah, that's something I don't understand, is why some states, they make it illegal to collect rainwater just coming from the sky and landing on my property. I don't understand why they would regulate.
Water, they want to be able to add their fluorides and their other stuff and clean it, make sure you're not, they don't trust you to be able to hook in a filter to clean out all the impurities so you're not killing yourself with bacteria.
No, people are dumb. So
it's another way of
it's money.
It's money.
They don't get any tax money. The county doesn't get any tax money.
But I mean, there's every other country in the world is like rainwater. Yes, you want to have your tanks good, do it, please. Don't put such a burden on the municipality's water supply.
Right.
But if you are in one of those states or those counties or wherever that you can't do that, but you can collect the rainwater off your gutters from your roof, then do it. You'd be surprised how far that goes, and it'll save you money there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask, what are the rainwater, I guess, laws back at home where you guys are at?
Can't do it.
Yeah, where we live, they will not allow you to collect rainwater for domestic use. You can do it for your garden. You can have a rain barrel. You can even tie a rain barrel to your gutter system for your garden, but you're not allowed to use it domestically unless you walk outside with a saucepan and take it from your rain barrel and boil it for 5 minutes. What? No way. That would never happen.
Never do that. Oh.
So, I mean, they don't come around and check at night. But there are ways around it like that,
Yeah.
And heck, if you go on YouTube again, you can figure out how to make a rainwater barrel dirt cheap. So you don't have to buy the nice $120 one at your local Whole Foods market. Bezos has enough money. He doesn't need yours.
Absolutely. I made enough money during the friggin' pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway.
It comes back to, if you have a home that you're living in and, you're trying to garden and you have to mow and rake your leaves and stuff, have a compost pile. And put your green waste compost and your coffee grinds and your tea bags in it. If you're a carnivore, don't put any meat proteins in there, because in fatty stuff, that doesn't work. But you're then enriching your soil. And when you have worms in your yard and in your gardens, that's a good thing. It's a sign that your soil is getting healthy and it's working, and the microbial stuff is working. When you dig in a yard and there's no worms, you got a problem. And it's healthier for the environment. It may take a little bit longer, but do your own composting. Use that as your top dressing, and that's going to have a greater benefit for your yard.
Yeah, top dressing in the garden, not on your salads. But I was gonna bring up. So I know at home we have a couple of greenhouses and we have our aquaponics set up. So I was gonna ask, what's been your experience with that gardening? I guess on that kind of scale, like in the backyard with the greenhouses. How has that impacted like what food you eat?
We typically try to plant and grow what we're going to eat.
Yeah.
It's easy for us. We're vegans, so I mean, we're not growing anything that we're going to throw to pigs or chickens and that kind of stuff. The 4 chickens we have are pets. They lay eggs. We give the eggs away. But typically, we're growing our own herbs. So we grow all our own basil and rosemary and thyme and that kind of stuff. We grow all our own leafy greens, and that's probably the biggest thing we grow is leafy greens.
Mm.
Strawberries is another big crop for us because we like strawberries.
We do have a couple of raspberry.
Oh, we've got a couple of raspberry and a couple of blackberry bushes. And so usually what we find, we try and grow all year round. Obviously, some stuff you can't. But in the summer, spring, summer, early fall, we would find that we reduce our grocery bill by 30%,
Probably.
maybe more.
We need to get better at it.
I'm starting to experiment with hydroponics, particularly Kratky hydroponics, which if you want to know what that is, go look it up on YouTube. It is, it's just a way of growing hydroponically without the need for electrical pumps and that kind of stuff. And you can do that in a windowsill. So I'm trying to utilize that and learn that so that I can grow all year round inside and out. That way, I want to get to the point, and I'm not there yet, where our grocery store, I'll put our grocery store bill, not necessarily our food bill. Our grocery store bill is consistently under $80 a week. Now people are probably freaking the hell out right about now.
What do you eat? How do you?
Yeah, what the hell are you eating? What are you doing if your grocery bills? Yeah. For your mother and I, honestly, we get all the protein we need. We get all the vitamins and minerals and everything that we need. And probably pretty typically here lately, and it includes cleaning products and all that sort of stuff. We're averaging probably $100 a week.
The last few weeks have actually been less.
Yeah. So, I mean, for 2 of us, we don't spend a whole heck of a lot at the grocery store. And on top of that, people, we are buying organic, non-GMO, like we're the bougie people here when it comes to shopping.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about GMOs on another episode because I have some thoughts and some science on my side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that on another one. Part of the reason our grocery bill is a little bit less is we maintain our basic covered supplies. Yeah. So if we're starting to get low on a spice, we'll buy bulk of it. What we know we can go through. I mean, I'm not talking a 5-pound bag of coriander or cumin. I'm talking we go, okay, yeah, the scoop, yep, that's about right. We make sure we have, basic rice and beans, different types of canned beans, dried beans, because you can utilize those in so many different ways. I mean, probably once a month, maybe twice a month, we are going, okay, we need to use what's in the cupboard. We've had, what do we need? And then we just buy the fresh stuff that we need to supplement with what we're making. The other thing we've started doing is meal prepping on Saturdays or Sundays, whatever day works on the weekend. Because it's the 2 of us, we have 2 crock pots. We'll make a couple crock pot meals, and it's enough between the 3 different meals to rotate through for lunch and dinner for the week. And then, whatever's left from that will be frozen and we'll pull it out at another time when we forget to shop or something. So, I mean, it's a learning curve. It's very easy to do with 1 or 2 people. With a family, it's really not that much harder. You just have to be more disciplined and do it consistently. You may have to increase it a little bit because of children's taste or allergies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's doable for a family. And if you've already been doing it as a single and a couple without kids, it's not going to be any different. You're not going to change your lifestyle just because you have kids.
Right.
You should continue to teach them your values and lead that example.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. So I'll say thanks for listening. Hopefully you guys out there have learned how to be sustainable and can save yourself some money. But until next week, I've been Josh.
I'm Mom.
I'm Dad.
Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell, and send us some questions.
Yes, please do reach out, send us some questions at fayansweredquestions@gmail.com. Bye.
Bye.